are driving through London in the Model 3, the Tesla. It's very exciting, but I already know what fake news is going to come from possibly today. I can see the headlines now. Man drives over cliff in Tesla. Right? Automation to blame. Woman drives over her own dog in a Tesla. Tesla's fault. Yeah, everything that goes wrong is Tesla's fault.
Of course, we know that not to be true, although this puddle might be. One thing's for sure, this is the most talked about car and maybe the most loved in the world. Here in the UK, the Model 3 is smashing the competition and is now the third most popular car here. But all this hype does bring about some myths. And this is myth number 1. Teslas are hard to charge.
No, they are not. It's a bit like a phone. Tesla owners treat their car like a phone. No one says to a Tesla owner, oh, you're not going to get that new iPhone 11, are you? Not a lot of range on that. You can't do much WhatsApp. No, it's a habit you get into because you have a brilliant thing. You plug it in end of the night, in the morning, you've got a brand new battery. Speaking of phones, actually, that's a very good analogy because in the olden days, phones never used to have very good battery power. But it didn't stop everyone from getting one because it solved an amazing problem at the time. And look where we are now with phones. The difference between this and an old-fashioned phone is that this already comes to the market with a really usable battery. And then there's a brilliant battery on top of that. People, therefore, might only really need to charge their Tesla maybe once a week. Other electric cars, though.
My immediate thoughts of the Model 3 were not just how much room there was in it, but how good it felt to drive. Despite distraction concerns previously about the screen, I actually found myself just focusing on the road more, which I suppose is a good idea in a moving car. Then I looked at the prices on Leasing.com and found out one of these only costs about 350 to 400 quid a month. To some, that's like a free car.
Back to the myths. Here is myth number 2. There is no safer car in the world than a Tesla. That's a direct quote from Elon. It isn't necessarily that true. Let's be fair, this does have the very best scores in both the US and in the UK in terms of safety. But does that make it any safer than a car, say, like a Volvo with similar high scores? Well, not really. In fact, so much so that the NHTSA, the safety people in America, they're very much like the NCAP people. They said to Elon, would you mind not saying that anymore, please? Because it isn't really that accurate and it could be a bit misleading.
By now, I had arrived in Windsor, in which time I'd confirmed our next myth, that the Model 3 is noisy. Despite many owners complaining of road roar and wind noise, some even reverting to modifying their Model 3 to make it quieter, I not only found it better at town speeds than expected, but also quieter than a lot of cars at this price range. That said, I didn't spend very much time on the motorway and so can't really comment from that perspective, but I had some ideas anyway.
If you do have a problem with the road noise, there are a couple of hacks. Now, I did notice the guy that built the rubber stuff that went around the windscreen. He was like an engineer on YouTube. Very clever bloke, and he got rid of all the wind noise and all that. But I've got a better idea than that. You don't need to be an engineer, mate. What you need is some of this. Now, you can get this from studio companies. You just put that on the window with some gaffer tape, and then you won't hear very much at all. So, don't worry about all that stuff. Alternatively, you can actually just use some old headphones, broadcast ones.
The best Model 3 has a range of 348 miles. It's all-wheel drive and has a 3.2 second 0 to 60. The cheapest, this one, has a range of 254 miles. Whilst that makes the best financial sense, the fact that it's cheaper in the US doesn't. Mind you, it's a small price to pay for a car that drives itself, right? Oh yeah, that'll be myth number 4 then.
For accuracy, let's just state the obvious and say that the Tesla automation software is the best in the world, right? The hardware that you're paying for as well gives you the automatic updates, and so every time there's an improvement, you will get that automatically. Everybody knows that. Everybody also knows that this can do things that other cars can't do. For instance, here in the UK, you can do on-ramp to off-ramp in this car without much intervention at all. Now that's interesting. The question is though, does it drive itself better than another car with level 2 automation? The short answer to that is I think it does a little bit. But the owners think otherwise. In fact, in a recent survey on a forum recently, only 6% of them said that their automation is world class. A larger proportion of them said, yeah, it's good, it's okay, but it's not amazing.
It will be though. This is Tesla's recent Level 5 automation test, where this driver has simply tapped in his destination and the car does everything. When you get yours today, your car will be ready with this to be installed automatically. Yes, this really is the car for the man who has everything, who likes chess, but can lose gracefully. No! For the woman who likes to relax by the fireside, or the child at heart to practice their drifting. It even works with your controller. It's the car that at a single touch will show you where you can charge it, or plan a route from London to Edinburgh, including your stops and even the prices. And whilst you don't think farting is funny, others very much do. Right, on now to myth number 5. The Tesla Model 3s are badly built.
3.5. No, they are not. This is my ruler, and I bought it specially to go round this car to check the panels. None of them are out. I've also checked the paint. No eggshelling, none of that going on. So you can take it from me. This now represents every Tesla Model 3 in the world. Okay, Howard's checked it, it's fine. But actually you don't need to take my word for it. You can take Bob Lutz's word for it. Now he is vice president, well used to be vice president of Ford. So he's a huge car man. He took delivery of one of these just to check how good it was, and he said build quality is world class. Say no more. You could actually come around my house. I could show you pictures of some of my BMW and Mercedes panels, which are basically all over the shop too. So if we're going to start doing, let's keep it fair.
With the myths out the way and you subscribing for our next one of these, I suppose the only thing left is to find out what I thought of it.
First of all, the size of this steering wheel. It's very easy to get the size of a steering wheel wrong. This is perfectly the right size. It's so small, making this really nimble to drive around in. There's something else. I'm just coming up to some traffic lights now. I haven't done any braking. If you get the hang of this regenerated braking thing, it actually makes the car twice as easy to drive as a normal car, because your foot is not moving from left to right all the time. You just take your foot off the gas and it starts to slow down. When you look at one of these, you think, right, I think I know what that's going to drive like by how it looks. It doesn't drive anything like how it looks. This to me drives like they've been making these for 100 years. You think it's going to drive like an iPad, but it doesn't. It's no wonder everybody's fallen over themselves for this, because this is not just a brilliant bit of technology, but it drives brilliantly. It is just brilliant to drive.